On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Kash, Patel made a surprising stop down in New Zealand. We're going to talk about it. Curious what all came from it. I think we can speculate some. Certainly my thumbnail probably gave you a slight indication as to what my suspicions are. And for those of you that don't actually know what Vegemite is, well, good on you, first off. Second off, it's a pretty nasty thing. It's a yeast spread that is very popular in England, New Zealand, and Australia. Vegemite's more the one they do down under, and Marmite is the one I believe they typically do in England, though all of these are accredited generally to England because it's disgusting. All said, also kind of funny. Vegemite for beginners, just a little bit. Vegemite for regular consumers, boom. And Vegemite for those who want to die. I would fall into the category of those who have never tried it because it looks so freaking nasty. So there you go. Yeah, it's a yeast spread. Salty and yeasty. Causing my throat to even get gross. Just the thought of it. Yeah. Hey, is this maybe an indication that Pocahontas needs to lose a couple pounds? I don't know. I'm not trying to be mean.
Senators voting in the affirmative. Baldwin, Blunt Rochester, Durbin.
Yeah. So this is why we can't have nice things, Pocahontas.
Perono.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm just stupid. Yeah, I'm just stupid. Sorry, that vote caught me off guard. Woo. Yeah, crazy. American Airlines plane that collided with this helicopter. This is a very bothersome image to me. First off, what we're understanding right now is the altitude indicator on the helicopter was apparently not behaving properly. Okay, I'm going to say that's true. I mean, it could be. What's bothersome and why I have a hard time with that is this. This is the helicopter here, and you're going to see the plane eventually come in from this angle here, assuming you can actually see my screen, right? And you're going to see this. I think you'll see what I see. You'll see it moving at first, and then it doesn't seem to move at all. Like it's just waiting.
Plane and helicopter leading up to the point of collision. The video was recorded by a camera located near the approach end of runway 33 at DCA oriented to the south. The video shows the night lighting conditions and the appearance of the aircraft lights against the cultural lighting of the city. Aircraft lined up on approach to DCA can be seen in the right corner of the screen. The flashing lights identify the touchdown zone of runway 33's landing threshold. Flight 5342 is visible in the upper left corner as it approaches runway 33. Pat 25 appears from the left side of the screen, moving to the right as the two aircraft cross flight paths.
It does appear, in my opinion, to still be moving, but it definitely seems to be turning directly inbound. And by the way, this reminds me of a story I had asked people to respond. It's totally irrelevant. Well, it's not. It's tied in, sort of. The SIG 320, there was a discussion about why the military was going to be getting rid of them and going strictly to the Glock. I had assumed it was to get everybody on the same page as far as clips, or mags, I should say, sorry. But that's definitely not true. I finally have been enlightened, which is sad because I actually own one of these. I don't keep it loaded in the house per se, but it's ready to become so. That said, it is apparently prone to misfires. And so it is. They've got a bad situation, which is a real bummer, by the way. I've always been a SIG fan, and having a gun that is not 100% trustworthy is a huge problem. Someone had emailed me and said, I don't think they have a safety, and I was probably assuming to this story that's floating around. But all that said, it has a safety. It just apparently sometimes will just fire. I don't know if it's usually safetied when it fires or not. Again, it's one of those things where they're not 100% sure how it happens, but it's concerning, and it's definitely cost the life. There's an Air Force gentleman that got shot in the chest because he kind of pushed his pistol in. It was inside its holster and kind of slapped it down on the table, and apparently it went off and shot himself, which is pretty jacked up. That said, the investigation's happening on this too, and Yeah, it just looks a little strange. And it was obviously higher than they were supposed to be. We've been told that already. An F-35 Lightning or fighter jet, I don't know if it is a Lightning or not, I assume it is, but the fighter jet crashed in Central California Wednesday near Naval Air Station Lemoore. According to Navy press statement, the pilot was safely ejected from the aircraft. Nancy Pelosi's, well, she's kind of getting beat up on a little bit right now in a very good way and deserves it. All the above. Here's Jake Tapper kind of taking some, not swings. Here's Nancy taking swings at him, essentially, but it's kind of funny how it played out.
Let me just read what he said. I'm sorry that we had some sort of technical issue. Nancy Pelosi became rich.
Why do you have to read that? We're here to talk about the 60th anniversary of Medicaid. That's what I agreed to come to talk about.
Yeah, but I wanted
what that means in the election.
I wanted to give you a chance just to respond. He accused you of insider trading. What's your response to that?
That's ridiculous. In fact, I very much support the trading of members of Congress. Not that I think anybody's doing anything wrong if they are.
It's just because I'm going to retire and I've already made my gazillions of dollars. And when I talk about gazillions of dollars, it's kind of spelled out beautifully by our good friend Carolyn Levitt. Check it out.
The reason that this idea to put a ban on stock trading for members of Congress is even a thing is because of Nancy Pelosi. I mean, she is rightfully criticized because she makes, I think, $174,000 a year, yet she has a net worth of approximately $413 million. In 2024, Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio, this was a fascinating statistic to me, grew 70% in 1 year in 2024, and her portfolio outperformed every single large hedge fund in that same year, and even more than doubled the returns of Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway. So I think the president stands with the American people on this. He doesn't want to see people like Nancy Pelosi enriching themselves off of public service and ripping off their constituents in the process. As for the mechanics of the legislation and how it will move forward, the White House continues to be in discussions with our friends on Capitol Hill. Yeah,
very good stuff. You gotta love it, and it certainly reminds me of the there's a hack on Grand Theft Auto 5 when you play the regular at-home version of the game, if you will, the non-web version. And basically you just cheat on the stock stuff. That's pretty funny. All said, it is happening. What do we got here? This New Yorkers bracing for severe flooding. City's going to see, I guess, possibly 5 inches of rain over Friday. So any of the people out there in New York, good luck, guys. You guys are about to go through even worse storm than you recently had when it flooded your city. And again, you guys are kind of like at sea level, right? Like you're not, Manhattan's not real high up off the water. So yeah, extreme flooding is not a friend to them. Eric Adams vetoes city council's bid to decriminalize illegal vending in New York City. He's like, it's kind of sending the wrong message here in America, or New York especially, that people that are illegally vending, they can do it, that's okay. But if you're a legal citizen trying to have a vending cart or whatever, you have to have all the permits and stuff, don't you? Again, it's not fair to have two separate sets of rules and actually reward people that are not here legally. That's certainly not cool. Trump moves to shut down New York City sanctioned drug dens. Apparently they've got a couple little safe drug zones where you're allowed to hang out and shoot it up or do whatever you do. Trump's basically saying, look, this is it's not okay, it's illegal, and we're going to fight people that do this evidence-based programs, explicitly excluding support for so-called harm reduction or safe consumption efforts that it claims only facilitate illegal drug use and its attendant harm. Which, I mean, I think so. I think if you make it ridiculously easy, then, yeah, there's no reason for it to stop. You're going to have more homelessness. They're going to tend to congregate closer to these areas. You're just going to see a lot of problems. And likely dealers, which will then happen in these areas. You kind of just centralize the problem, which, I don't know, some could argue is better, but it's only if you're on the outskirts. And most would say it's worse because you're not actually doing anything about the problem. Apparently, Kamala Harris has come out and admitted she's not going to run for governor. She has a little bit of a doubt. She has a little teeny bit of doubt in her mind, and she says you can't do it. You can't do it if you don't believe in it, right? So she had to do a gut check, and she has reasonable doubts with the word she used because she's a lawyer or whatever. Latest efforts to toss Alina Habba, a real lawyer, out. Draws an unusual source, Eileen Cannon, apparently. There's another case where they're trying to say that she's breaking the Constitution by Trump doing what Trump's doing. We're pretty sure Cannon would probably try to shut this down or walk this back. I don't know, there's probably the expectation of this happening anyway, but we'll see where this goes. Some say it's kind of an outshot or long shot, but we'll see. The client that's bringing the case is actually up for prosecution for gun and drug crimes. This is why he's trying to keep her out, because he's likely going to get a worse penalty with her. So I'd love to see how that plays out in the court. Like, even Cannon almost is going to have to say, yeah, that's not an acceptable reason to stay this. But just because you're actually going to have the book thrown at you for committing gun crime and drug crime, okay, bummer for you. You're a criminal. Hello. We've got Lee Zeldin on with Mark Ingram's angle, and he talks a little bit about this carbon dioxide being our worst enemy and all this stuff and what they're doing to get rid of it. I thought it was pretty cool to always hear their own words and their plans. So here's Lee Zeldin talking with Ingram.
Administrator Zeldin is here. He's going to tell us how he'll do this. Now, Mr. Administrator, thank you for joining us. So the Obama EPA is what found at the time that greenhouse gases threaten the public's health and welfare of current and future generations, and they use that for this massive regulatory takeover of businesses, especially energy companies. Explain how your proposal would counteract that.
Right, Laura, it was a very creative reading of Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, where the Obama EPA reached this endangerment finding. They said that carbon dioxide, when mixed with a bunch of other well-mixed gases, the greenhouse gases, now they're only supposed to be doing this with mobile sources like vehicles. They include gases emissions that aren't even part of vehicles at all. Well, anyway, they say that when you mix it all, that it contributes to climate change, global climate change. It doesn't say causes it, it says contributes. How much? Good question. They don't say, but it's more than zero. And then they say that global climate change endangers human health, public health, and welfare. It was all sorts of different mental leaps. Now, here's the problem, and you are very well read and learned on the Supreme Court and precedent and interpretation of the rule of law and Constitution. Well, the Supreme Court issued rulings in Loper-Bright, overturning the Chevron doctrine, in West Virginia versus EPA, in Michigan versus EPA. Essentially, over the course of the last few years, the Supreme Court is saying agencies like the EPA shouldn't be going rogue with their own unique interpretations when there is a gap in the law. We are supposed to have a Congress that gets elected, they have a debate, they pass laws, and then we're supposed to follow the law. And as you noted, because of this endangerment finding, they then start regulating the heck out of vehicles, out of stationary sources, out of airplanes, and it ends up adding up into the trillions. We proposed yesterday an over 300-page proposal that's now going out for public comment, 150-page preamble, and I encourage the public to participate, that we are going to rescind the endangerment finding, all of the greenhouse gas emissions for vehicles that followed, and on top of it, that much-hated start-stop feature in vehicles. We're proposing to get rid of that credit, that incentive too.
Getting rid of all the nasty. And again, yeah, good stuff. A lot of this technology, again, doesn't work well. I'm happy. I've got a great story about Bill Gates and his new super yacht. That's actually a better direction than windmills and stuff like that. So there are, we can be concerned about the environment. I'm fine with that. But doing it the way we were doing it was absolute insanity. We were totally committing suicide in the big picture, and so there's a much, much better way to handle these problems. Senate confirms Joseph Kent as the head of National Counterterrorism Center in a partisan vote, of course. Joseph Kent was, he's a former Army Special Operations soldier and a CIA officer. He's been serving as a senior advisor to Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. He will now lead the agency created after the September 11th attacks to coordinate intelligence on domestic and transnational terrorism and threats to the U.S. interests worldwide. Kent, who was endorsed by President Trump in both of his congressional campaigns, has said that Russia's territorial demands in Ukraine were very reasonable shortly after the start of the war in 2022. He has also maintained that the 2020 elections were borrowed, to say the least, and he suggested that the FBI may have played a hidden role in the events of January 6th. Now, this is from the Washington Post, oddly, so again, you've got to enjoy the language that's used. So one of the reasons why I'm very grateful that Badlands does put the links But one thing that bugs me is a lot of people do report. They use a lot of Axios sources. Just, it's unfortunate. They do good stuff. I'm not trying to bag them. They do great stuff. And certainly it's just jealousy talking here. Come on, please. But yeah, it's frustrating to me right now. People that are using crap sources and pawning them off as news, they should at least throw some sort of something in there like, well, this is where it's from and it's alleged sources. So just keep that in mind as an opinion, even if you're trying to stay within the whole I'm a journalist and you're not supposed to have an opinion. Recess appointments are possibly on the table. This would be very interesting. We've talked about this a long time ago. Didn't seem to happen then, but now it actually seems like it could. They're talking about going into a extended recess, and Thune is talking about this, and that would give Trump a chance to use the make a recess appointments to get rid of the backlog. I like that idea. So we'll see if that happens. I don't know if that's actually him saying this. What the hell? Let's find out. That'd be cool. I want to hear more. It's 2.5 minutes. It's got to be good.
Amount of our time and energy here in the Senate on nominations these days. And we've seen an unprecedented level of obstruction and delay and blocking from Democrats. And as a consequence of that, we've had to kind of grind through, and that's what we're going to keep doing. If you look at just the historical precedent with regard to noms, we have never seen in history anything like what the Democrats are now doing. As of this date, back in 2021, Joe Biden had gotten 46 nominees confirmed either by voice vote or unanimous consent. Donald Trump has zero, not a single one confirmed by voice or unanimous consent. And further, the Democrats are making it hard even on bipartisan nominees that sometimes will get 60 votes plus on the floor, one even up to 83 votes on the floor. So even the bipartisan noms are being blocked and delayed, so much so that the Democrats have been forcing me when I file cloture just to get a nominee considered on the floor to go in and out of executive and legislative session. So these are just dilatory tactics designed to block and obstruct the president and his agenda. And the sad reality is that there are a lot of these people who fill important positions in our government who need to be able to be confirmed to get there so they can do their jobs. And that's the way of the American people. That's what they voted for. They voted for this president. And he has not had an opportunity to get the people that he wants to have man his administration get there to do their job. So this has got to stop. And clearly the Democrats are starting something and creating a precedent that is going to come back to haunt them. This is really bad. This is a bad practice on their part because, as you all know, what goes around comes around here. And I think, regrettably for the Democrats, they're going to rue the day if they keep this practice up. So I am hoping that they will work with us, come to their senses in the next few days here to try and put together a package of nominees. There are a whole bunch of bipartisan nominees that are out there that are available for consideration right now. But this simply is, again, I've said it before, but it is. It's Trump derangement syndrome on steroids with the Senate Democrats. There are Senate Democrats who actually do want to work on getting some noms through the process, but their leadership is blocking that. And unfortunately, here in the Senate, at least on the Democrat side of the aisle, it is the tail wagging the dog. It is the far left of their caucus that is preventing even good government people who are bipartisan, from getting confirmed. So that's got to change, and if it doesn't, we're going to be here a while. So.
And again, whether or not they go the other direction, and it could very well happen. So we'll see. Thune's playing the game pretty good. Grassley, there was an article I saw. I'm not going to play it or anything, but Grassley was being defended by some senators. They were saying, it was funny, is the entire article was Tom Tillis, who is, irrelevant. So it was kind of funny in that regard. Again, what's not irrelevant is our health. That is for sure. And I'll tell you, man, again, every day, day by day, I'm taking this. This thing is definitely getting smaller. It's just like a little sliver now. It is so small. And even the redness part is actually now dissipated. This thing's going away. Like, it's freaking awesome. It was easily, I don't know, the size of a dime. One of these days I'll try to draw it, but like it's crazy. It's going away. So parasites are a funny thing. Parasite cleanse is incredible. It is the ivermectin mebendazole. It is actually, many kind of freak out on the sticker shock, but it's 90 pills. It's 90 days worth. And when you break that down into how many dollars per pills, essentially, it actually, and then you compare that to what it would cost you to get ivermectin 25 milligrams and mebendazole 250 milligrams from anywhere, even India. and have it shipped, this is a really good deal. Plus, you got a prescription thrown in there. Plus, you've got just that stability, that knowing. This stuff's incredible. 1 pill a day, and you are like just knocking out parasites, and you'll probably notice, much like I did, really quickly. Like within a couple days, 3 days, you'll start to notice like changes in your body. Probably some of the more immediate, like problematic places. And again, not making promises, and there certainly isn't any here. But if you do a lot of research and studying into what parasites are a cause of, and things that they're involved with that we understand now, you begin to give it a lot of weight. It's an excellent product. And again, I actually think the price of it is phenomenal. TWC.health/OTF. TWC.health/OTF. They've also got this recharge, the methylene blue stuff, which is pretty popular for people if you want to get a little extra energy, or even a little sharpness right in the mind, right? Maybe you're getting a little dull upstairs. We've also got all sorts of weight control. They've got stuff for hair. They've got things for teeth. All sorts of stuff. They got testosterone support. I don't know. I mean, it's doctors doing it. I don't actually know what's in it. I don't usually recommend it unless it's not, I mean, as long as it's not synthetic hormone. But yeah, what is this? Vegetarian capsule, dietary supplement. What's actually in it? I don't know. I would have to, I don't know. Ingredients. There we go. Let's try those. What do we got? I don't see any. Who knows? Looks pretty good. If you guys are interested, just check it out for sure. Be careful with any sort of hormone stuff, because you can, if it's actually got hormones in it, you will actually find that your body starts to produce less of those hormones in response to having extra. Your body's not going to be like, oh, cool, we'll just keep going hard at this. No, it'll actually back off on its own side. So you got to be careful. That's why one of the things that's great about the Heal Thy Home, Healthy Home, is it's products that actually enhance your own body's production of the hormones, like the balance and stuff like that, the stem cells, all those things. So it's kind of interesting how these things work out. So again, this looks like a powerful product as well. Again, that's what's amazing about this company. And they've always got new stuff going in. They got Venus hormone balance going on. And Venus was her name. Wow. So that's another way to go, too. Another way to go. Balance estrogen and progesterone. Again, it's up to you. I'm really excited about what I'm hearing from people using the balance. But again, you should have options at all times. And again, the big ones, too, are the medical kits, the contagion kits, the antiviral kit. Got a whole bunch of cool viral stuff in it. Again, legal. It's a prescription, and they actually have a refill price too. I think you got up to like 3 years. So if a giant weird flu happens to occur, right, trying to mess with the election again or something, we've got options, at least to make sure we stay safe. So again, check out twc.health/OTF, TWC, the wellness company, twc.health/OTF, and get that health into your own hands, right? Like you got to do it. Healthy Home, TWC, all these things about getting healthy. The Root Brands is healthy. Hillary Clinton, she approved the plan hatched by campaign aide to smear Trump. This is these new declassified docs. There's a lot of info in here. She approved this plan, long story short, hatched by a top campaign advisor to smear then candidate Donald Trump with these false claims of the Russia collusion, right? We know all that. There's emails and stuff. The intelligence came from 2 memos obtained by the Obama administration in the lead up to the Clinton-Trump contest and laid out confidential conversations between members of the Democratic National Committee and liberal billionaire George Soros' Open Foundation. Yes, he was involved. The plan included raising the theme of Putin's support for Trump and subsequently steering public opinion towards the notion that it needs to equate the Russian leader's political influence campaign with actual hacking of election infrastructure. They did that through a really messed up way, too, by the way. Clinton approved the plan proposed by one of her foreign policy advisors, Julian Smith, to smear Donald Trump by magnifying the scandal tied to the intrusion by the Russian special services in the pre-election process to benefit the Republican candidate. Smith would go on to serve as former President Joe Biden's ambassador to NATO. Again, they always get rewarded. A 2-pronged Democratic Party opposition is focused on discrediting Trump, among other things. The Clinton staff, with support from special services, is preparing scandalous revelations of business relations between Trump and the Russian mafia, another declared. The memos point to then President Barack Obama potentially seeking to shut down the FBI's probe of Clinton's use of the private email server to highly classified information while Secretary of State. They also show the origins of a plan to link Trump with Russia around 9 months before the 44th president ordered a post-election intelligence assessment claiming the same in December 2016. That assessment, published in January 2017, included, over the objections of senior CIA officials, details from a since-debunked dossier put together by former MI6 spy Christopher Steele, an opposition research project funded in part by Clinton's campaign and the DNC. The special services cited in one of the memos referred to intelligence activities of Obama's CIA and FBI, which may have included the work of Trump's dossier author Christopher Steele. In March 2016, then FBI Director Andrew McCabe shared the memos with senior officials at the Department of Justice, suggesting a plot to launch an investigation based on the Democratic campaign document. Open Society Foundation's Senior Vice President Leonardo Bernardo was looped in on a scheme and laid out stages that it was projected to cover. During the first stage of the campaign, and due to lack of direct evidence, it was decided to disseminate the necessary information through the FBI-affiliated technical structures, in particular, the CrowdStrike and Threat Connect companies, from where the information would then be disseminated through leading U.S. publications. One Bernardo email read. So they literally used CrowdStrike and Threat Connect to verify these fake claims. The media analysis on the DNC hacking appears solid. Another stated, Julie says it will be a long-term affair to demonize Putin and Trump. Now it is good for a post-convention bounce. Later, the FBI will put more oil in the fire. So also a shocking thing that happened in July 27, 2016. HRC approved Julie's idea about Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections. That should distract people from her own missing email, especially the affair goes to the Olympic level. So the point is making the Russian play a U.S. domestic issue. In absence of direct evidence, CrowdStrike and Threat Connect will supply the media, and GRU, Russia's foreign intelligence arm, will hopefully carry on to give more facts. Special counsel John Durham uncovered the information during a multi-year probe into the intelligence activities during 2016 election. Durham consulted the FBI and CIA, both of which assessed that the intelligence was likely authentic, but couldn't corroborate exact copies of Bernardo's emails with Open Society Foundations. The CIA also determined that the intelligence was also, note, the product of Russian fabrications. So yeah, this is based on all this Durham Annex information. The Obama FBI failed to adequately review and investigate intelligence reports showing the Clinton campaign may have been ginning up the fake Trump-Russia narrative for Clinton's political gain, which was ultimately done through the Steele dossier. Grassley is saying in his statement now. These intelligence reports and related records, because Grassley released these, by the way, these intelligence reports and related records, whether true or false, were buried for years. History will show that the Obama and Biden administration's law enforcement and intelligence agencies were weaponized against President Trump. This political weaponization has caused critical damage to our institutions and is one of the biggest political scandals and cover-ups in American history. The new Trump administration has a tremendous responsibility to the American people to fix the damage done and do so with maximum speed and transparency. Now, again, Ratcliffe helping, Bondi, Patel, all these people helping. This information's coming out. This was done through this Russia hoax. Whistleblower threatened multiple attempts to report wrongdoing. So we had a whistleblower way back in the day. This was reported by DNI, Tulsi Gabbard. Whistleblower talked about pressure from the supervisor to accept the fake story they were making up. Their refusal to accept that basically would possibly cause a problem. So they said they couldn't do it in good conscience. Whistleblowers' concerns about flawed intelligence practices, namely selectively using open source references to Russian media as evidence. Again, the whistleblower repeated attempts to report concern about the false information used in January 2017 ICA to multiple government officials, and yet still nothing happened. They buried this guy and in fact made his life miserable. Well, these things are coming to light. Now, what's interesting, and hence the thumbnail, apparently Kash Patel ended up in New Zealand, Wellington to be specific, I guess, and he went to the Beehive, which is, I think, their MI6 or what, I don't know, it's their FBI, something like that, their intelligence. He was there. It was on a rumor. He's apparently on the 7th floor, suggesting he visited Foreign Minister Winston Peters. Harold approached Peters and Defense Minister Judith Collins. The government has not confirmed the visit. Spokesperson for the U.S. Embassy said, "We have many official visits to New Zealand and we cannot comment. It would be inappropriate." So again, hard to get anything specific. One thing we did get is FBI Director Kash Patel traveled to New Zealand this week to open a dedicated law enforcement attaché office in Wellington. This was the U.S. Embassy and Consulate in New Zealand, Cook's Island, and was it Niue? I don't know how to say that. I don't speak. I don't know, what is that? I forget what the Kiwis, the Maori speak. I forget their language. Anyway, all said. This is interesting because they're part of the Five Eyes. And there's a very strong chance that there's things we don't have evidence of that they do. And Trump using trade and things like he has been, wouldn't surprise me that some deals were made. Maybe deals to keep other people from coming to press. Again, Epstein files, things along those lines, because I'm pretty sure the previous person that was in charge, what's her face, was not free from sin. So there's probably a lot of effort to get some help in this issue where we can kind of get our country cleaned up, right? I'm sure there's a fun way they sell that. And if not, we're going to tear up the crap out of you. And we've got all sorts of reasons for doing it. So this is interesting. And we'll see if anything more comes out. I'm sure there'll be speculation. I think that's kind of what we know. Hopefully Kash comes out and says something. But I think it's Five Eyes oriented, unquestionably. So doubtful we'll find too much out. Here is one of the whistleblowers. Not sure if it's the same dude or another dude. But whatever the case is, this is huge confirmation for what is happening and what we're fighting. This John Mills guy, is that the same dude? I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Is it John Mills? I don't know. Might not be. I should do a find at least since I've wasted this much time. Oops. No Mills. Okay. So it's a different guy. That's cool. All right, so let's see what we see here. Anyway, this guy's talking about it. Pretty good stuff. And again, the lies, the fact that people were trying to come forward and couldn't. And then we've got people like Brennan, who were talking back in 2019 about how whistleblowers are so helpful when, all the whistleblowers back then were certainly turning against Trump. And we're finding a lot of whistleblowers now that have been turning against the Obama-Biden administration. It's funny how the pendulum swings, I guess, but some good info in here. Check it out.
So you were actually one of the people that assessed this intelligence community assessment from the side of DOD, as I understand it, that recently we've been hearing about, that Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, publicized recently.
Yeah, I think it's page 74, 75 of my first book, The Nation Will Follow. 2 days after the election in 2016, I was called up on the NSA phone. The person said I had to be on the intelligence community assessment that was assembling to finalize the Russia narrative, because we were going to prove that Trump was a Russian asset and we were going to delay or block the inauguration of Donald J. Trump for the first term. I just couldn't believe it.
This is what you were told?
This is what I was told on the phone. So this was a deep state coup from the beginning, that it actually started in early 2016. We went through the process in November. The final product came out in the first few days of January 2017. But bottom line, the supposed top secret review, there was nothing there to show that Russia was trying to manipulate the campaign or the outcome of the election in the favor of Donald J. Trump, that the Trump campaign was somehow colluding with Russia. There was no evidence of anything. So when the document, the Intel Community Assessment, came back to the Department of Defense, because that's what happens in these reviews, the team members, the document, the final end product goes back to all the departments and agencies for review and finalization and approval. When it came back, my recommendation was non-concur. There was no evidence to support any of these assertions. And I was told, John, stand down. No, you don't need to complete the staffing. The secretary, which is Ash Carter, who's dead now, had already signed off because Comey and Brennan were personally hands on keyboard writing this assessment. You never have a director of CIA or a director of FBI personally writing the intel community assessment. That was very brief.
It sounds, even with everything we know today, it sounds kind of nuts.
It was absolutely nuts. It was absolutely nuts, and it was some of the most outrageous things I'd ever said or heard in government service, uniformed or civilian. This was insanity. The voice on the other end, I know exactly who it was, and I put their name to the Durham investigation. John, we're going to finalize the Russia narrative, prove Donald J. Trump is a Russian asset, and delay or block the inauguration. It's never been done before in American history. This is insane. But it shows what was going on. And we were starting in early 2016. We were being fed information in interagency meetings from New York, from the director of counterintelligence, who was Charles McGonigal, who's now in prison, who was being paid by the Russians to spread the rumor inside the U.S. government that Trump was a Russian asset.
I just want to touch on that for 1 sec, since we're talking about it. It was Russian money that was funding the rumor that the candidate Trump was a Russian asset.
That is as insane as it sounds. Yes, the Russians were paying the FBI director of counterintelligence to spread the rumor it was the Russians that were interested in Trump, were trying to influence the election, and that there was a form of collusion going on between the Trump campaign and Russia. Shows the bizarre nature of the Soviet era psyche still permeating through the Russians.
Yeah, so this is the crazy world that was literally going on. And this is busting open. It is happening. Again, government speed. Fast for government speed, I think. That Steve Ricchetti guy, who I said would take the fifth, he didn't exactly take the fifth. He was, one, he was defiant. Two, he was there. I don't know if he had to, because it wasn't subpoenaed and it was closed door. So I'm not sure if he's allowed to lie or not lie. But yeah, we didn't hear a whole lot about any taking the fifth per se, but that he was not a happy camper, not helpful, not, he basically said that he thought Biden's weirdness was within acceptable norms. The mistakes he'd made, the gaffes were, normal people make mistakes like that all the time. I mean, maybe in their group they did, and maybe working with Biden as much as he did, it probably happened all the time. So maybe in his world, that's super common. I think most of us don't find that to be the case. Whatever. Didn't take the fifth as much, but yeah, he didn't say anything, which is pretty much what I was pointing out. Former Biden advisor Mike Donnellan is testifying in the House committee probe in Biden mental fitness. This will be happening, I believe, tomorrow. So, again, not expecting a whole lot. His interview was on Thursday, so today. We'll find out what he said later, or how big a douche he was. Who knows? It's up in the air, folks. The Court of Appeal in Ireland has ruled that asylum seekers do not have housing rights in Ireland. This was the high court decision, which is very cool, which means a lot of countries right now are starting to figure out this immigration thing. They're using it to piss off all the Western countries, all of them, all of Europe, England, us, all of them. And this has been a big thing that they've been trying to do, and then they were just going to kill off a bunch of people in other countries, like China, for example. That was the plan anyways, probably India too. Maybe a war between Pakistan and India would have done it. So again, lots of people were supposed to go bye-bye. Things are happening differently. That's good. That's good. And again, people are waking up since, the end of the world didn't happen like they were planning. Scott Bessent, I got about 6-7 minutes of him. I don't know if it's in a row or not. This guy's a rock star. I think it's not. I think I've got China over here. Yeah, something like that. But Scott's talking about this bottom 50% got crushed under Biden, and Trump is going to be fixing this. And so I think, again, pretty good stuff that he did at this symposium he was at.
We're seeing wages outpace inflation this year. This is a big deal. I don't think this happened during Biden's presidency. I think this is a unique thing to President Trump's economy. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Look, I think other than, I'm sure the president would agree with me on both, other than the fact he's the most transformative political figure of this century, the other reason he won is because the bottom 50% of working Americans got crushed. That if you go by the standard inflation numbers, PCE, CPI during the Biden years, it was about 18 or 21%. The wages reported wages for working Americans were about 3% below those numbers, but that isn't the real story because working class Americans have a different basket of goods and services than everyone in this room. They're dependent on used cars, insurance, rent. They don't have assets. So they probably experienced inflation between 32, 35% with wage growth at 16. So they had a gigantic loss of purchasing power. And so with this administration, we're committed to doing two things. And everyone says, how are you going to fix the affordability crisis? And the first way to do it was to bring down inflation, to make sure inflation doesn't get worse. So in May, we had the best inflation numbers in 4 years. They're down. Inflation's down. But as you said, we're going to get real wage growth up, which is what happened in President Trump's first term. In President Trump's first term, hourly workers did better than supervisory workers. The bottom 50% of households, net worth went up more than the top 10%, which might not suit anybody in this room, but it was great for working Americans.
Hugely great. And again, these are the things that Trump does that most people either don't understand, but they kind of see it. Like I remember when I was working hourly at the time when Trump got in, and I remember my stepmom, he's like, did this tax break actually help you? And I'm like, I don't know, let me check. And I literally, it was one of those things where you could go on and look at your stub. And I looked at my stub and I'm like, and I compared it to the one before, the month before, or the week before, or 2 weeks before. And it was, less taxes. And I go, it was actually significant. And I told her the percentage. And I said, without a doubt. And she was an hourly worker and, worked at a private tennis club and kind of got ripped off as it was anyway. So she didn't see it as much, which I don't blame her. I was making a little bit more than she was. So it was a little more. But I was like, I think I was making $80,000, which again sounds awesome. California, it's still poverty. But it was, not bad. I was able to pay my bills, which is the important thing. So again, the difference was huge. What we're seeing now is going to affect, I think, everybody, which I think will be significant as well. Trade is firmly in the crosshairs of the Trump administration. The U.S. has announced multiple new deals with South Korea, Cambodia, Thailand, and Pakistan, while steep new tariffs were imposed on Brazil and copper imports. Trump highlighted a $350 billion investment pledge from South Korea in cooperation with Pakistan to develop its own oil reserves. That's kind of a cool thing. We'll probably be helping with that. And the big deal, I think, with copper, honestly, because he's tariffing that everywhere. And the reason is because there's a lot of places in the world where they're getting it out of the ground significantly cheaper than it costs us to do it. And ultimately, we've got a lot of copper mines here, or at least we've got pretty good copper sources here. So I think he's trying to actually bring us into where we can make it kind of a little more internally, if you will. It'll be better in the big picture. And, so I think it's a mixture of things going on. U.S. Appeals Court weighs legality of Trump tariffs. Again, they were looking at this last I understood. It was kind of really between China, Mexico, Canada. China, just because we've got interesting, long-standing agreements that seem to get broken all the time. But I think Trump felt like there was something legally why we're able to make amends. And then, of course, that MCA or whatever that one, the agreement that Trump initially created between us and Canada and Mexico. So that's got some legal legs. I understood some of it was coming from that. We'll see. I mean, if we need to get some clarification, we will, but still waiting on that one to move forward. Trump releases letters signed to 17 major drug pharmaceutical companies. I'm going to go ahead and let Carolyn leave it, talk about this, because she'll do it in far less time.
Signed, President Donald J. Trump, again, to the CEO of Eli Lilly. This letter, in its form, has been designed for each of the 17 major drug and pharmaceutical companies in the United States, and we're happy to provide you the full list. And I believe you will see all 17 letters popping on Truth Social very shortly, so you can look out for those, and I'm happy to take any further questions.
And they did pop on Truth, and I was trying to go to Truth to find something, and I was like, what the hell is all this for? Because it was like, I felt like it was the same letter over and over and over, which I felt was very strange. Whatever. DanRadioStyle.healthyhome.com. This is truly great products, incredible products for your health. Just to cover them quickly, stem cells. Stem cells help heal your body. They're androgynous cells that can become other cells. Stem Active doesn't put stem cells in you. It causes your own body to produce more stem cells naturally. 25 to 40% more stem cells within a reasonably short period of time of taking the actual liquid gel or the pills, 2 pills. And they start immediately dissolving in your stomach. They're, those gel caps. Powerful stuff, and it really helps healing. For me, I had a jacked up shoulder. I was feeling pain when I was working out at the gym. And again, I know it's not the collagen because I honestly don't do it. And I've been doing that intentionally. And I'm missing out, by the way. But I've been doing it intentionally because I wanted to see if it was that. Like my girlfriend, her thing went away on her head. That went away while she was gone, and some of it, I'm sure, was the humidity in the Philippines. But she was doubling up on collagen. Her hair, I guess, is still coming out a little bit, but it's growing levelly. And her skin looks amazing. Holy crap, she looked easily 5, 6, 7 years younger. Easily. She was only gone a month. Easily younger. So she's doubling up on the collagen stuff, right? And this stuff's awesome. Like I said, I've been doing a couple things. I've been doing the cleanse, parasite cleanse, and the stem active are the two things that I'm like heavily doing right now. And again, just trying not to overclout what I'm experiencing. And this helped my shoulders, my point. She had calcification in her shoulder. She's now able to hug me in the morning with no issue. She doesn't wince. It doesn't hurt. She's fine. In fact, it's like she stopped taking it even, and she's still fine. I still take it. I'm cool. I feel like it's just good. There's a lot of benefits to taking it continuously. I'm going to continue doing that. All it does is just help heal your body. In fact, we've got it for pets. It's about half the price of what humans pay. But if you got a pet that's gone through surgery, maybe a pet that's got, hip dysplasia or some joint arthritis, weird stuff like that, I tell you, it's worth it. It's like $65 or something, I think. But it's chewables, and it's going to help your pet heal themselves as well. It's powerful. Balance is the one talking about the hormone. Ladies going through that change. It's hard on everybody. It's hard on yourselves. It's hard on the relationships with people close to you. It's hard on trying to be caring and compassionate with others sometimes too. Ties out maybe your kids, right? Driving you insane. Balance is actually causing a lot of women balance, calm, comfort, just happiness again. It's helping. It's not doing it through any sort of hormone replacement, which again is something that's dangerous. It's plant-based stuff that helps your own body kind of properly work through this, which is really what you ultimately want. It's a transdermal lotion. Put a little on your wrist and you rub your wrists together. And some are saying this thing's lasting 2-3 months just per one purchase. So when you think about bang for the buck, it's definitely a pretty sweet deal. Probably better than a lot of them, frankly. But it's really, really, really good. And it is a lot of women, and even their husband in one case where I got a good, solid answer back. It's helping the relationships in key ways. So it's bringing balance back to your lives. Amazing. And collagen is what this does. You got sagging skin, sore muscles, joint discomfort, lifeless hair. Collagen is a major helper. It's one of the biggest, most important proteins in the body. This is collagen peptide, and it's also in a liquid, so it almost immediately dissolves into the body. Incredible product. Helps with hair growth and all that. Please be aware that it's 15 per box, which again, you can take it every other day if you want, or if you want to do it every day, you're going to need to get 2 of them. That's one of the, only one. Most of these things are priced out for a month. Balance and Amaze are 2 that kind of aren't. Prime is, again, 30 in those. It's awesome. It's a nitric oxide booster. This gives you energy. And basically what it does, expands your blood vessels. More blood travels through, which is more oxygen, more nutrients, more just life travels through you. You just notice more energy. It's weird. It's not like a caffeine hits you like, oh, I just had a cup of coffee and I feel it. It's cool, right? It's not like that at all. You just have more energy. It's cool. It's very, very cool. It's like creeper energy is what it is for those of you that ear. That said, this is great products, and they will keep you healthy. And you're thinking about health, you're focusing on health, and you've got the things to actually fight the unhealth. So you're doing it. You're focusing in the right ways. Heal thy home is another funny way they say it, but healthy home, right? danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. That's danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. Once again, danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. Hit that shop tab, or if you're hitting it on your cell phone, I think there's like 3 bars, and that'll give you these menus. Great products. You can check it out however you'd like, but it's they've got bulk stuff. They got some really, really cool stuff. Check it out. Once again, danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. All right, fantabulous. Meta, some weird stock stuff, kind of. Meta soars 10%, all-time new highs, smashing estimates, right? They're also talking about getting together with, I think this next story, well, it's not, but we'll talk about it later, but they're talking about getting together, or at least XAI, aka Musk, is talking about why don't I get together with Facebook? Now, it does sound like Musk is starting to go off into weird waters, but we'll see. We'll get to that story. But Trump warns Canada that recognizing a Palestinian state could derail trade deals. So we've got England, France, and now Canada that all want to come out and recognize a Palestinian state. And Trump is like, starting to get a little pissed about it. And sounds like we've got a lot of people that are going deep state, rogue on us, and Trump is trying to stop this deep state move on the world scale. So we'll see what happens. He's doing his best. Trump slaps sanctions on Palestinian Authority. The blocks officials from traveling to the UN for Palestinian state. So yeah, he shut them down, basically saying, yeah, we're not doing this Palestinian state. There will be none of that. I think the Abraham Accords is the big thing he's going to be pushing. And I'm assuming once we get through the crazy Palestinian waters that we're in, we will probably start to see more countries get on board with that Abraham Accord nonsense. Well, it's not nonsense, but you get my point. Trump threatens BRICS with tariffs over anti-U.S. agenda. He said, quote, they have BRICS, which is basically a group of countries which are anti the United States, and India is a member of that, if you can believe it. It's an attack on the dollar, and we're not going to let anybody attack the dollar. In fact, that pissed him off a little bit when it came to India, and he sort of had a comment to make about them and Russia. And he said, and this is truth, he put this out, I don't care what India does with Russia. They can take their dead economies down together for all I care. We have done very little business with India. Their tariffs are too high, among the highest in the world. Likewise, Russia and the USA do almost no business together. Let's keep it that way. And tell Medvedev, the failed former president of Russia, who thinks he's still president, to watch his words. He's entering very dangerous territory. Yeah, Trump's pissed. Like, you keep pretending you're president, buddy, but you're not. Putin's president. Stop being like Obama was. Trump truthed this out as well. I've just concluded a telephone conversation with the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, which was very successful in that more and more we are getting to know and understand each other. The complexities of a deal with Mexico are somewhat different than other nations because of both the problems and assets of the border. We have agreed to extend for a 90-day period the exact same deal as we had for the last short period of time, namely that Mexico will continue to pay a 25% fentanyl tariff, 25% tariff on cars, and 50% tariff on steel, aluminum, and copper. Additionally, Mexico has agreed to immediately terminate its non-tariff trade barriers, of which there were many. We will be talking to Mexico over the next 90 days with the goal of signing a trade deal somewhere within the 90-day period of time or longer. Present at the meeting were Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, United States Trade Representative and Ambassador Jamieson Greer, Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, and Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and United States Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller. There will be continued... That's a shit ton of people, by the way. Good God. There will be a continued cooperation on the border as it relates to all aspects of security, including drug distribution, and illegal immigration into the United States. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I love how he just ends everything with that now that he's using it as an official place to, make government communications. Apple retreats in China. It's closing its flagship store, opened in 2008 amid iPhone erosion. Now, they did move their manufacturing to India for iPhones, which is also causing a small problem for Apple. And so, but yeah, Apple's probably going to have to start manufacturing here in the United States somehow, I guess, or find a country that's got lower tariffs than where you're currently at. Elon Musk has been hinting at a historic merger in the business world, suggesting that his company XAI should partner with tech giant Apple. He's either trying to sell the stock or sell the tech or something. Not sure what he's doing, but he's probably like, I can't do this many companies, and I'm seriously losing companies that I got. All said, yeah, this is XAI is probably expensive too. So I don't know. This is where they were talking about maybe hooking up with Meta, and that would be... Well, powerful for XAI. I would consider it actually frightening kind of to a degree. And I would probably, I don't know, I will see what happens, but I don't see that as that feels like a very deep state move to me. Meta's definitely still spying on everyone, and XAI is tapped into X and then would be tapped into Meta. I'm just, anyway, I mean, I get it. It's a big pool of data, but there's some danger there. Will Robinson. Microsoft shares soar on stronger cloud AI earnings. Again, it was just kind of interesting to see which companies are surviving and which ones aren't. which ones are struggling a little bit. So, yeah, Microsoft doing all right. Meta doing okay. Actually surprising some people. Fed's favorite inflation indicator ticks a little higher in June. So this is, of course, what the Fed's going to say. Well, this is what we were going by. It's a 0.3 is inflation right now. It rose 0.3, sorry. So I think it's at 2.8, which is inflation. And it's 0.8% inflation over what's acceptable inflation, which they call zero inflation, but it's actually 2% inflation. So every year we lose 2% of our dollar year over year, every year. That's called zero inflation, by the way, losing 2% of your dollar every single year. Just saying. It's a fiat dollar. Precious metals are not fiat, and a lot of people, when they talk crypto, it still bugs me. They're like, well, yeah, but, the dollar's fiat. And it's like, so is your thing. Your crypto's fiat as well. It's just as fiat. In fact, probably more fiat, one could argue, than the dollar. I get it's non-centralized. I get that, but we've also seen how it can be abused as well. Federal Reserve consensus cracks as 2 board members vote against keeping interest rates unchanged. These same 2 have been bitching about this for a little while now, so don't get excited. I don't know if this is just meant to be people that are trying to be like, hey, Trump, we want to be your friend when you do take over, or they're the ones that hope to be in charge of the Fed. I don't trust either of them, frankly. I don't trust any of the people on the board, but that's just me because I don't trust anybody in general. Stock market's down a little bit there. It's funny how, they talk about how futures are up for the Meta or whatever, and then they go down because of some other thing they bitched about during the day, and then they come back to normal. And really just understand that all of these are adjustments, right? So these are all adjustments. And adjustments, people are buying and selling stocks. In this case, when it's going up, people are generally buying stocks, right? And then when it starts going down, that means they're selling stocks. And then it goes back up and they're buying stocks. What these are is transactions. Now, first off, yeah, the money's moving. That's one thing. 2, there's transaction fees for a lot of that. This is people making money also. So crap news comes out. Oh, no, we got to sell this stock. I don't even know how often this news is even legitimate, right? And they just put it out and it causes a stock market problem. And then a bunch of people suddenly just affected the price of something. Then they bought a bunch of it. That kind of stuff happens probably more than more people realize. So again, gold doesn't move like that. It's a valuable asset. It's pegged to the dollar or pegged to the value of the dollar, really. And so as the value of the dollar continues to drop by 2%, gold is going up 2%, or some cases more. It depends. There are cases where we've seen some multiplier effects kick in because of paper contracts have manipulated the prices of gold and silver in both cases. So again, a lot to consider, a lot to think about. Trump closes duty-free de minimis loophole with executive order. This was kind of that thing where if it was under a certain amount of money, they could ship it without having to declare what's inside of it, or essentially. And China was taking advantage of this big time through like Vietnam and countries like that. So this is Trump kind of putting an end to that cheating that China's been doing. China's getting crunched and crushed hard right now. And what's interesting is from a financial standpoint and how much they've been taking advantage of us and how much of their technologies come from stealing and how much it has come from us just being ridiculous, with them. That's stopped. And China's just gotten crushed. They just got beat down kind of to a degree. And it didn't require a missile to be fired. Again, is this going to hurt both sides? Yeah, it's going to hurt China way worse than us. Way, way, way worse than us. We're just not going to be able to buy cheap shit for a while. What happens when you can't buy cheap shit? You don't buy anything. And then eventually you buy either something nice or the cheap shit comes back. Then you buy it. So that's what's going to happen as a general rule. It's not like we're going to... Most of the cheap stuff that we get is stuff that you can do without if you had to. Anything else, you can buy a slightly more expensive version of it and still be, helping. And you're helping locally at that point, so it's even more important. Myanmar's Kachin state is at the center of a Sino-U.S. scramble for U.S. rare earths. Again, another place where China and us are fighting to essentially get control of these rare earths. It's important stuff. We need them. China needs them. We all need them. It is strange to me. A lot of people talk about this free energy and all the stuff. And again, I believe we have the technology. I believe it's so heavily locked up. And just based off of how everybody is moving to get all these crazy rare earths, and again, maybe that's to make some of this stuff, but we're trying to get all these crazy minerals that we're going to need, right, to build some of these new technologies. So, I don't know. There's a weird push to wrap our arms around stuff that we could likely need for many of the, just throw crazy up there, like med beds and stuff like that, or even TR3Bs, some of the anti-gravity stuff, maybe some of the energy devices that I saw the egg thing that's been manufactured. That's power. I'm not sure how much power the one device is. Supposedly can power a home. Coolness, right? And it wasn't, it was about the size of a suitcase. Like, it wasn't small, but it wasn't huge. It was like the size of a suitcase, like a good sized suitcase, but it was egg shaped though, so a little fatter than a suitcase, but about that high, that width, that height. Yeah, it's kind of a shock, right? Got it again. I got a crazy Bill Gates bastard, but kind of cool. It's almost the one time I'm being a little tech envy, almost a little. I wouldn't want to own a boat ever, but it's a cool boat. It's a really cool boat. We'll get there. So anyway, we're trying to get precious earth stuff, rare earths. Blackout prone Syria is going to begin receiving natural gas from Azerbaijan via Turkey. Again, economic agreements, multipolar world, money flowing differently is what needs to happen. A lot of that has been controlled by, probably the crown to a degree, London, Vatican, and the United States, DC basically. This is broken apart, and it's going to go into, I believe, separate poles. And I think we're seeing a lot of that play out. And again, this is good for Turkey. It's good for Azerbaijan. So, yeah, I mean, this is not a bad thing. It works. And it's good for Syria, I guess, too. Right? So, again, we got to move forward. We got to stop killing each other. I think that's just a good idea. Scott Pacent, China on their heels because the world is now with us. This is another big, 1-2 punch. And I think, again, I don't know if you guys like this finance stuff. I don't know why I eat this stuff up. I don't know, I worked in mortgage, never banking per se. I work in data, so I get a big kick out of this. But I kind of understand what he's saying. I feel like he brings some pretty complex stuff down to our level a bit. And what we're doing to China right now and the way we're sort of cornering them without, again, a shot fired. Taiwan hasn't needed to happen. Their technology isn't going as far, and they're having a hard time building it at this moment. We don't trust them, nor does anybody right now, so stealing additional technology is very hard for them, and it's going to take years to fix that. China has been hurt. Now, again, I feel bad for the Chinese people, but not the CCP. The Communist Chinese Party needs to be removed and eradicated. This is one of the biggest wars that's happening. Russia's almost done with their component. Israel, I think we're sort of controlling. China's the big question mark, the big dragon in the room, if you will.
Mr. Secretary, you just got back from Stockholm, Sweden. You were there meeting with the Chinese delegation about trade talks. This is your third such meeting, I believe, with them.
Yes.
Can you talk to us a little bit about what happened there, and then we'll get into kind of some of the specifics about where things go from here on.
Well, what I can tell you is I don't think it's overstating it to say that they were a little on their heels, because the week before, we had just done the Japanese trade deal. Then the day before we began our talks, I know you were in Scotland with the president. Ursula von der Leyen, president of the European Commission, came and did, what's the deal of the century with the EU. So, Japan, EU, we are, I believe, meeting with the Koreans this afternoon. So, our largest trading partners, we have trade deals with. So the Chinese, who like to project strength and under this monolithic view, they were on their heels because it was like, listen, guys, this is the way it is. And you've got a pretty good deal going, but the rest of the world is now with us. And you're not going to get a special deal. You're not going to get this. The EU is a bigger trading partner, and the more excess manufacturing. I keep telling them that the Chinese have to rebalance their economy. They have the most imbalanced economy in the history of the modern world. They're 30% of manufacturing. They have a current account surplus that's equivalent to 2% of global GDP. We haven't seen that since the 1870s, 1880s, when there was the British Empire. And I just said that the world's with us now, because for a while, it looked in April, May, like the U.S. was alone against the world. Now that we've done deals with our top trading partners, that we have a lot more leverage. And as you know, nobody generates leverage like the president.
That's exactly right. So one of the things he told me that President Trump told me when I interviewed him in Scotland about China, because I asked him about your meetings, which were ongoing at the time when we did the interview a couple days ago. By the way, Turnberry, fantastic property, guys, right? If you ever get a chance, go, please. Like, it's a beautiful, they're right there on the coast. But one of the things he said about China in particular is the goal is to get China to open up. Did you get the sense that they're open to opening up or their economy to American goods?
They will move at a very deliberate pace. I was in the macroeconomic investment business for 35 years, and I think probably the most overused saying recently is the Ernest Hemingway saying, "How did you go bankrupt? Slowly, then quickly." I think that with a lot of these big economies, that it's a slow process, then it'll happen quickly. I remember the Japanese had the bubble burst. They didn't want to do much about it. Then Abe came, President Trump's great friend, Prime Minister Abe, came into office in 2012, and boom, the Japanese hit the accelerator and never looked back. So my sense is that it's not going to be a straight line, that they are doing, they have 5-year planning sessions. They are meeting for the planning sessions. It's called the 5-year plan. They're doing their 5-year plan in September or October. They'll announce the results of that in February. So I encourage them that if they are going to rebalance to more of a consumer economy, to make that known.
And again, just to reiterate, the key part in there is China manufactures 30% of the world's stuff. They literally are sitting on a crap ton of cash, but their people don't have it. The CCP or the government has it. The central planning has it, and they can buy whatever they want from all around the world, and they got gobs of money to do it. But their people don't. So when people stop buying their stuff, now they're just sitting on stuff. Now you got to start shutting down factory lines, which is hard to start them back up. You run out of storage of place. Stuff starts to get bad. It'll start to get exposed. It'll start to rot, whatever. You start to run into all sorts of problems. That's what Trump did. He threw a wrench into the machine, and he grinded it down to a stop. And China's bummed. There's not much they can do. Like he says, eventually they're going to slowly kind of have to trickle down on this, and eventually they're either A, going to have to make different choices, which a lot of what Trump's been saying is to get the Chinese people to be consumers, and then let us bring in our products too. Let the people in China buy stuff. Let them have access to a free market. And that's something that China is very against. So we've got, it's such a great time to be alive. That's all I can say. It's a great time to be alive. There's a lot of trippy people around these days, but it's a great time to be alive. Keith Kellogg, Trump's special envoy to Russia and Ukraine, has freshly warned in new published comments that oil sanctions will have serious and hard-hitting economic impacts if properly enforced. He's basically making a threat. He's like, look, here's the thing. We don't want to have to enforce this, but if we do, we could use our Navy to enforce this. We could easily find any of these dark fleets. We know exactly where they are. You guys, they're not dark. We see you. We know exactly where you are. We'll board you. We'll stop you if we have to. So, I kind of hit me this morning. I think ultimately how Trump and Putin kind of want this to play out. Putin wants to have accomplished his goal, okay, and minimize the loss of life, certainly of Russians, and even Ukrainians probably. And Trump wants to look like he played a part in this, and that his pressure helped bring this to fruition. Ultimately, I think Putin's going to do what Putin's going to do. The rest of the world kind of fighting on him. It's like swatting at a gnat, right? Like, I get it, but at the same time, what are you going to do? I got nukes. You launch anything at me, I'll nuke the shit out of you, and you'll never live. Like, you know that. I know that. We all know that. I got hypersonics. You won't stop them. I'll hit London. I'll hit, Switzerland or Geneva or whatever, right? I'll just list off the, the five capitals, Washington, D.C. It's over. So this has always been somewhat contained. A lot of games have been played, gamesmanship, and they really haven't been able to shut Russia down. What they've done is made Russia extremely strong, which is, honestly, for anybody that understands Russia at all, that's Russians. Russians are very strong. I don't mean just physically. I mean, in a lot of cases, they live in a very tough environment. They're used to kind of getting by or having to work a little harder at stuff. It's just very different. They make their equipment meant to last. We make our equipment like pristine, right? And they're just very different ways of solving a problem. All that said, hopefully we see the end of it soon. We'll kind of find out. Russia strikes Ukrainian defense industry facilities in an overnight attack. They hit pretty hard. Again, missiles, drones, and these are a few of my favorite things, right? Like all that stuff was happening. So 300 drones, 8 missiles, and a partridge in a pear tree. I think 5 golden rings. I think there were. There might not have been. I don't know if there's any rings. Sorry, I might have made that part up. Iran is deporting millions of Afghan migrants after capturing alleged Israeli spies. Israel's in a weird place right now, right? So we got this thing. There was millions of Afghan migrants are getting deported. Iran is. And this is after catching some spies. I don't know if they were Afghan migrants, spies, or what. But Iran is still getting messed with by Israel. Trump's supposedly warning Israel, and he said this, I think, in a public statement, but Trump has become a little critical of Israel. He got a little mad at the starvation thing, demanding an explanation from Israel after they bombed that Catholic church or blew it up, whatever, chastising the Israeli government for attempting to ramp up hostilities with Iran, again, shortly after the ceasefire deal, in fact, immediately. And people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and others are getting a little pissy about this relationship. So Trump is kind of wondering, hey, what's going on? And a lot of Senate Democrats, they just tried to vote to block weapons sale to Israel. Now, Israel didn't go through, but it does demonstrate that there are 27 senators that were willing to come out and say we are anti-Israel. Now, again, we know this is a lot of the progressives. Again, a third is what we've been generally saying are the numbers. 70% of us against 27% of them. I think that's a somewhat high number as far as population in the country is concerned. In Congress, I'm actually surprised it's that low. But yes, we are fighting a fight. The deep state's fighting us back. And again, it reminded me one thing, and I keep talking about how I feel like just a small number of you guys makes a huge difference. I wanted to give an example that I think is a legitimate experiment or study or hypothesis. I'm not sure, mind game. But there's the concept of the 100th monkey. And I feel like this has been studied to some degree. I didn't go digging on this, but this is something I'm aware of just, from discussions and popping up and things. And for those of you that don't know what the 100th monkey is, I want to say they were like on an island, monkeys, something, whatever. A bunch of monkeys, right? And once, and it could have been across the world, monkeys all over the different places, but learning how to use a particular thing, like they figured out how to take a certain kind of stick and crack open like a coconut, for example, right? I'm making up something, this might be legitimate, but it figured out how to kind of pry it in there and then and then open it up. And so this monkey figured it out, and then maybe another monkey saw it, but because of this activity, it popped into the collective conscious of the monkey. And maybe, in 4 monkey zip codes over, right? Another monkey's like, I got this idea. I'm going to use a stick and then figures it out. Maybe a couple learn. And the same, multiple zip codes away. I'm just using that because I think it's funny. Monkeys don't have zip codes, I don't think. If they do, that'll be a shock, won't it? Little monkey male monkeys. Whatever. That's it. And so this is called the 100th monkey. By the time 100 monkeys have figured out how to do this, all monkeys know how to do it. It just takes a few of us, guys. It just takes a few of us to use the tool properly. Our mind, our spirit, our soul. Use the tool properly, and 100 monkeys, we will have accomplished our goal. Just saying. Believe it or not, if not, look up the 100 monkey thing. It's pretty cool. It's a neat little theory. I love you guys. I've got the Law of One thing happening. In fact, today's kind of cool. It talks about higher self, which I very much like, and I think it's referring to Jane Roberts' Seth Speaks, which is a great book. Also highly recommend it. I would agree, is probably one of the better channeled pieces of information that's out there, and I consider Law of One to be high up on that chain. We're going to be talking about some cool stuff tonight, and hopefully some of you guys will join us. Again, it's not for everybody, but it is for a lot of people that just always felt like they didn't belong. If you're one of those people, you actually might be surprised how this makes more sense than it doesn't. We'll see. Lob 1 happens live at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. But that said, you can watch all of them. I've got all the episodes up. I think I have a channel on YouTube and Rumble. Both have, not channel, but a playlist. Both of those, Rumble and YouTube, both have playlists. I think I put it up on BitChute too. I'm not sure. That's the only other place I might put it up. All said. It's happening. I love it. It's one of the reasons I got into this work. It's the reason I made this channel. It's something that's special to me, but again, it's not for everybody. It's just for the 100 monkeys. I'm just looking for my 100 monkeys. That's all I'm looking for. I love you guys. We're going to do this together. Shoulder to shoulder. Step by step. We will get this ball across the finish line or the end zone or through the tape, run across the tape. Put your arms back, though, when we do that, because then it looks cooler. All said, we're going to do it together. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.